Yes, so look, all indications suggest, Yvonne, that there's a movement or certainly an uprising. I can't speak for all the other electorates in Papua New Guinea, but I can see, I can say that in very general terms, when you see what's happening in social media, certainly the day-to-day politics in Papua New Guinea is shifting now, where I guess the importance or the absence of women on the floor in political leadership is so stark. When I speak of my district, which is the Ngurum district, which is the second largest district in Papua New Guinea, we are probably considered one of the least developed districts in the country. And I guess as a reaction to that, women are basically hitting the table and saying we're not doing this anymore, and we're going to insist on supporting female leadership in our district, because we've supported and trusted men all these years, and we haven't had really any a return on that investment, if you like.
Well, Tatiana, there is no doubt there are strong female leaders across the country who have contested in elections before. But why do you think this has not translated into parliamentary seats and more equal representation in politics?
When you look at the PNG politics and certainly the money politics involved in what occurs in an electoral process at the end of a 5-year political term, the stakes continue to increase. The amount of money that's at play continues to increase. So the process has become quite exclusive. And when you consider that women are, I guess, by virtue of the fact that we are, I guess, predominantly a patriarchal society, we're always relegated to a minority position where our voices are not being heard. I think we have improved statistics in the private sector, where leadership in the corporate world is really quite remarkable, and only remarkable in relation to the political space that we occupy. So yes, I think the issue of money politics and our cultural disposition and history kind of leave us have put us back into this position. But, not forgetting that historically, in our first administrations or in our early administrations, we did have very strong women that were elected into Parliament who held economic portfolios and certainly commercial portfolios like I think at one stage, it wasn't a commercial portfolio, I beg your pardon. I think our first minister was a justice minister under my father, Michael Samaria's administration in the first government after independence.
And in terms of your campaign, what challenges are you facing in reaching your voters? How hopeful are you of winning them over as well?
In terms of the challenge that I face, the cost of fuel is very, very high. Our district is, I guess, 1,100 kilometres of river. My district occupies, that's three districts. So my district occupies 700 kilometres of that 1,100 stretch of river. So as you can imagine, in the absence of critical infrastructure like jetties and wharves and slipways and airstrips or airports, it is very challenging logistically to get around the district, particularly as there are so many remote areas that populations are in very, very remote areas. Convincing the population, I think in 2017 when I came forth, people have actually gone to the polls before and voted for me, certainly in a different capacity. So there was a level of detachment. They were voting for me as a governor under my proposition to become a governor. And in these elections, I'm proposing to be their district member of parliament. But I am seeing a great deal of support. And as I mentioned at the start of the interview, there seems to be a movement and a transition towards, I guess, the psyche in our district, in our constituency, where they'd like to see people who have had educational exposure or have qualifications. They're interested in hearing a voice that has a plan. I've designed a district development plan that can be easily, costed and modelled and certainly enforced with governance frameworks that people have been, I guess, hungry to see because of the corruption and the rorting and the complete lack of accountability in so many of our districts and provinces throughout the country. I feel I'm quietly confident. I'm not saying I've got it in the bag, but I'm certainly saying that I've got a bit of hard work. But I do think that I sit in the top, certainly in the top 5 of the candidates contesting the Ngorem open seat.
PNG is Australia's largest aid recipient, and there's been an increase in focus on capacity building. Do you think it could be doing more to increase women's political participation?
Look, I think I'd be lying if I said that I think Australia should be doing more. Papua New Guinea needs to be doing more. As the host government, as a sovereign state, we have the ultimate and original responsibility, and certainly the authority and legitimacy to be supporting the other half of the population, and we haven't done that very well. To be demanding more of Australia seems to be intensely inappropriate, but also a little bit, detached from the way the world has evolved, post-COVID. And certainly as we look at geopolitical pivots in our region, we really do need to understand the way in which our entire geopolitical landscape is operating. Because if we're not careful, we're going to be faced with new players who we don't really understand that well, and in an economic position where we need to really be looking at austerity and recovery and the importance of revenue generation and the importance of just providing the critical enablers just in our own country in terms of service delivery. We're left in a position now where we've got cap in hand. We're moving around the region and the world, cap in hand, asking for support to pay for our recurrent spend. Never in the history of our country have we been in such a humiliated position. So I don't think it's appropriate personally to be asking Australia for more. I think that Australia's shift in recent times towards supporting, major goals and themes and certainly strategic priorities in the gender space have been quite remarkable, and really speak to the issue of the fact that Papua New Guinea's own support for its women and better representation in the political process has been either weak, isolated or non-existent.
Well, Dulciana, we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Yvonne, thank you so much for your time.